The message came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. At first, the radio operators thought it was just noise, a strange burst of static from deep space. But Sam Harrison knew better. "Play it again," he ordered, leaning forward in his chair. The bridge of the U.S. Vigilant fell silent as the strange sounds filled the air once more. Sam had been in the Navy for 15 years. He had heard every kind of communication signal known to mankind. This was different. The patterns were too regular, too purposeful. "Sir, I think it's a message," said Olivia Martinez, the communications specialist. Her fingers moved quickly over her console. "It's using mathematical sequences as a foundation. Basic prime numbers, then more complex patterns." Sam nodded, his heart beating faster. "Can you decode it?" "I'm trying, sir," Olivia replied. "The computer is working on it now." 3 hours later, the first translated words appeared on the main screen. "Help us. Harvesters coming. Earth is our last hope." The message spread across the world like wildfire. News channels ran the story day and night. People gathered in streets, in homes, in bars, all watching as more of the message was decoded. The aliens called themselves the Luminary. Their civilization was dying. A species called the Harvester Collective was destroying their worlds one by one. The Luminary had been watching Earth for decades. They knew humans were different. "You are Deathworlders," the message continued. "Your planet has high gravity, high radiation, extreme temperatures. You evolved to survive conditions that would kill most sentient species. Your bodies are durable. Your minds adapt quickly. You might be the only ones who can fight the Harvesters." In Washington, the president called an emergency meeting. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials argued through the night. "We should stay out of this," General Jackson said firmly. "It's not our fight." "But if these Harvesters finish with the Luminary, what's to stop them from coming here next?" asked Dr. Lisa Grant, the lead scientist. Back on the U.S. Vigilant, Sam and Olivia worked around the clock to establish better communication with the Luminary. They created a more efficient translation algorithm, allowing near real-time conversation. "The Harvesters consume all resources," explained the Luminary ambassador, a being called Seltor. "They take what they need and destroy what remains. They have conquered 12 systems already. Ours is the 13th. Earth will eventually be found." Sam sent this information to his superiors, adding his personal assessment. "I believe the threat is genuine. The Luminary have provided star charts and attack patterns that match with our own deep space observations." 2 days later, Sam was called to the White House. He stood before the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the President, and representatives from 20 other nations. "Commander Harrison," the President said, "you've had the most direct contact with these aliens. Do you believe we should help them?" Sam took a deep breath. "Ma'am, throughout history, we've fought our own battles. We've evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every step of the way. Storms, predators, disease, our own wars. The Luminary call us Deathworlders because we survived all that. Maybe that's exactly why we're here now. Maybe our strength has a purpose." The room was quiet. Then Admiral Peterson spoke up. "If we do this, we'll need a fleet. Our ships aren't built for space combat." "Then we build new ones," Sam said. "We adapt. It's what humans do best." The vote was nearly unanimous. Earth would answer the call. That night, as Sam looked up at the stars from the deck of his ship, Olivia joined him. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Yes," Sam admitted. "But I'm also curious. We always wondered if we were alone out there. Turns out we're not. And apparently, we're the tough kids on the block." Olivia smiled. "Deathworlders has a nice ring to it." 3 days later, the official response was sent to the Luminary. "We're coming. Hold on." And across the planet, dormant shipyards roared back to life. Factories that once built aircraft carriers now drew up plans for spacecraft. Scientists and engineers worked day and night on new weapons, new shields, new engines. The Deathworlder fleet was being born. Admiral Grace Phillips had been retired for 5 years when the call came. She was fishing at her cabin by the lake, something she did most days now. The sun was setting when her old secure phone rang. She hadn't heard that ring in years. "Phillips," she answered, her voice still carrying the authority of someone used to command. "Admiral, we need you back," said the voice of the president. "You've heard about the alien message." Grace sighed. "I have. Is it real?" "Very real. We're going to space, Admiral, and we need someone to lead the fleet." 3 days later, Grace stood in what had once been a submarine factory in Norfolk. Now it buzzed with activity as workers converted the massive space for a new purpose. Engineers pored over designs. Welders sent sparks flying into the air. "This will be the command center for the Deathworlder initiative," explained General Rodriguez as they walked. "We're retrofitting our best naval vessels and adding technology based on the luminary specifications." Grace stopped to watch a group of workers installing what looked like a massive shield generator on a partially built structure. "That's Alan Reyes' team," Rodriguez said. "He's our chief engineer. Brilliant man. He's already adapted some concepts from the luminary communications into working prototypes." Alan was in his 40s, with strong hands and tired eyes. He barely looked up from his work when introduced to the Admiral. "The shield will work," he said simply, "but we need more power. Human power sources aren't strong enough for what we're trying to do." Grace nodded. "I'll make it happen." In another section of the facility, Dr. Natalie Okonkwo was examining strange glowing samples in her lab. Her team of scientists stood nearby, taking notes. "These are harvester biological weapons," she explained to Grace. "The luminary sent data on their composition. Fascinating stuff. Deadly to them, but—" she looked up with a smile. "Our bodies seem naturally resistant. Our immune systems are much more aggressive than the luminaries." "Is that good news?" Grace asked. "It's excellent news. It means we can go places they can't. Fight in environments they'd find lethal." Outside on a makeshift training field, Marine Officer Bill Peterson was running drills. Men and women in new space combat suits moved through obstacle courses, practiced zero-gravity maneuvers using special harnesses, and fired weapons designed to work in vacuum. "Harder," Bill shouted at them. "The harvesters won't give you time to think. Move like your life depends on it, because it will." Grace watched the training with approval. "How are they adapting?" Bill wiped sweat from his brow. "Better than expected. Turns out all those action movies about space marines weren't completely wrong. We're natural fighters. Admiral, we just need the right tools." The heart of the operation was the first ship, UEN Defiance, once an aircraft carrier, now transformed into something new. Its flight deck was enclosed, its hull reinforced with new alloys. Weapon systems, unlike anything on Earth, bristled from its surface. Grace stood on the bridge, looking at the newly installed systems. Screens showed views of space, star maps, and data streams from the luminary. "Will she fly?" Grace asked the technician beside her. "Yes, Admiral. First test flight scheduled for next week." That evening, Grace addressed the assembled crews, engineers, and scientists. Thousands of people gathered to hear her speak. "We are building more than ships," she said, her voice carrying across the crowd. "We are building hope, not just for us, but for beings we've never met who reached out to us in their darkest hour. They called us Deathworlders. They say we're stronger, tougher, more adaptable than other species. Maybe they're right, but strength means nothing without purpose. Today we have found our purpose among the stars." The crowd cheered. In hangars across the world, more ships were taking form. In training facilities, more crews prepared. In laboratories, more discoveries were made. The Earth awakened to its new destiny. The day of departure came 3 months after the first alien message. 12 ships hovered above Earth, converted from the planet's most powerful naval vessels. 5,000 men and women prepared to journey farther than any human had gone before. Lieutenant Derek Mason stood at the viewport of the UEN Defiance, watching Earth grow smaller. His hand touched the glass, as if trying to hold on to the blue planet for a moment longer. "Thinking about your family?" asked a voice behind him. Derek turned to see Dr. Natalie Okonkwo standing there with her tablet. He nodded. "My son turned 8 yesterday. We had his birthday party early, but," he shrugged, "not the same as being there." Natalie nodded. "We're all leaving something behind. But we're also the first humans to travel to another star. That's something to tell him about when you get home." The journey would take 3 months. The Luminary had provided technology that allowed the fleet to travel faster than light, but even so, the distance was enormous. The crew settled into routines. They trained, they studied, they prepared. Not everyone got along. The fleet had sailors from 20 different nations. Old rivalries died hard. "The Russians are hogging the training simulator again," complained Petty Officer Luis Garcia during a meal. "They're just trying to be ready, like the rest of us," replied Engineer Alan Reyes, not looking up from his food. "We're all on the same team now." Admiral Phillips spent much of her time in meetings with her officers. Today, she looked tired. "What's our status, people?" she asked. "Engineering is green," reported Alan. "The Luminary drive technology is holding stable. We've even made some improvements to the cooling systems. Medical is making progress," added Dr. Okonkwo. "I think we've developed a vaccine that could protect the Luminary from harvester bioweapons. We need to test it when we arrive." "Tactical is ready," said Commander Sam Harrison. "But we still don't know exactly what we're facing. The Luminary reports describe the harvesters as insect-like, but highly intelligent. They use some kind of hive mind in combat." Grace nodded. "And our pilots? Best in the world," said Derek. "Though that might not mean much against aliens who've been fighting in space for centuries." Some nights, Grace stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars streak by. She wondered if Earth had made the right choice. Humanity had never been united like this before, but they were untested in space combat. What if they failed? What if they weren't the saviors the Luminary hoped for? On the 90th day of the journey, the alarm sounded. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Ahead of them was a star system with 7 planets, and around the 3rd planet, a battle was raging. "Status report," shouted Grace as she entered the bridge. "We've arrived at the Luminary home system," reported the navigation officer. "But we're seeing heavy combat around their planet. Multiple ships of unknown configuration in orbit." Sam Harrison studied the tactical display. "The Luminary defenses are failing. Their orbital stations are almost all destroyed." "Life signs on the planet?" asked Grace. "Scattered. Major population centers show damage. There's a large concentration of survivors in the northern continent, in what appears to be an underground shelter." Grace took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. "This is what we came for. Alert all ships. Prepare combat deployment. Lieutenant Mason, ready your fighters." "Yes, Admiral," Derek replied, already heading for the hangar bay. "Dr. Okonkwo, prepare your medical teams. We may have wounded allies soon." On it, Grace looked at the main view screen, which showed the beautiful blue-green planet ahead, surrounded by the dark shapes of harvester ships. "Sam, open a channel to the Luminary shelters." A moment later, a weak signal connected. A tired alien face appeared on screen. "This is Admiral Grace Phillips of Earth. The Deathworlder fleet has arrived. Hold position. We're coming in." The alien's large eyes widened. You actually came." "Earth keeps its promises," Grace said. "Now, tell us what we're up against." The harvester ships did not notice the human fleet at first. They were busy bombarding the Luminary planet. This gave Admiral Phillips precious minutes to plan. "All ships, battle formation Delta," she commanded. "Lieutenant Mason, launch fighters when ready." In the launch bay, Derek climbed into his fighter. Years of training in Earth jets had prepared him for this moment. Or so he hoped. The new fighters were based on Earth designs, but enhanced with luminary technology. "Wolf Squadron, ready for launch," he said into his helmet mic. 12 other pilots confirmed they were ready. "Launch when ready, Wolves," came the reply from the bridge. Derek felt the acceleration push him back into his seat as his fighter shot out into space. For a brief moment, he was awestruck by the sight. The vast blackness, the brilliant stars, the beautiful luminary planet below, partly obscured by smoke and fire. And the enemy, strange, angular ships that moved with surprising grace. "Stay focused," he reminded himself and his squad. "Remember the simulations. They may have more experience, but we have better reflexes. Use them." The harvester ships finally detected the human fleet. Several broke off from their bombardment and turned to face the newcomers. "They're coming around," reported Sam Harrison from the bridge of the Defiance. "First contact in 30 seconds. All ships, raise shields," ordered Admiral Phillips. "Let's see what Engineer Rye's work can do." The first harvester shots hit the shields of the UEN Defiance. The ship trembled, but held firm. "Shields at 90%, reported the tactical officer. "Their weapons are strong, but we're holding." "Return fire," Grace ordered. "All batteries." The human ships opened fire with railguns, missiles, and energy weapons reverse-engineered from luminary designs. The battle had begun. In space, Derek led his squadron against the smaller harvester craft. The alien ships moved in perfect coordination, like a swarm of insects, but they seemed confused by human tactics. The Earth pilots were unpredictable, aggressive, taking risks no experienced space pilot would consider. "Wolf 3, break right," Derek shouted as he saw a harvester ship targeting one of his pilots. He then looped his own fighter in a maneuver that would have been suicidal in atmosphere but worked perfectly in space. He ended up behind a harvester ship and fired. The alien craft exploded in silence. On the surface of the planet, a different battle was unfolding. Major Sofia Rodriguez led a team of Marines to the surface in landing craft. Their mission: rescue luminary scientists trapped in a research facility. "Remember, we don't know how well our weapons will work against these things," she told her team as they approached the landing zone. "Stay alert. Stay together." The Marines landed near the facility and moved out in formation. Soon, they encountered their first harvesters on the ground. The aliens were tall, insect-like creatures with multiple limbs and chitinous armor. They moved with frightening speed and purpose. "Open fire," ordered Sofia. The Marines' weapons tore into the harvester forces. The aliens seemed shocked by the ferocity of the attack. They were used to species that surrendered or fled. Humans did neither. Back in space, the battle was turning in humanity's favor. The harvester ships began to retreat from the unexpected resistance. "They're pulling back," Sam reported to Admiral Phillips. "I think we surprised them." "Good," Grace replied. "Now let's show them this wasn't a fluke. All ships, pursue and continue firing." Ambassador Exceltor watched the battle from the bridge of the Defiance. The luminary's large eyes were wide with amazement. "Your people fight without fear," he said to Grace. "We had heard stories of Deathworlders, but to see it—" "We're just getting started," Grace replied. "Get me a direct line to your leaders on the surface. We need to coordinate the next phase." As the harvester ships retreated, the human fleet formed a protective ring around the luminary planet. For the first time since the invasion began, the bombardment stopped. The people below could look up and see defenders in their sky. The first battle was over. Humanity had drawn first blood. News of the human victory spread quickly through the stars. Within days, ships from other species began to arrive in the luminary system. They came cautiously at first, uncertain of these newcomers from Earth. The first to arrive were the Korvax, tall beings with blue skin and 4 arms. Their ambassador, Zinval, requested to meet with Admiral Phillips immediately. "We have watched the battle recordings," Zinval said when they met in the conference room of the Defiance. "Your tactics are Unusual. Effective, but unusual. We're new to space combat, Grace admitted. Perhaps that's an advantage. We don't know what's impossible yet. Next came the Vreen, small creatures with large eyes and remarkable technological skills. Then the Jaxari, a reptilian species known for their trading networks. Soon, 7 different alien civilizations had sent representatives. Sam Harrison organized the meetings, trying to build a coalition. Each species has different strengths, he explained to Grace. The Korvax have the best navigation systems I've ever seen. The Vreen have developed cloaking technology. The Jaxari know all the trade routes and supply lines. And what do we bring to the table besides fighting skills? Grace asked. Leadership, Sam said simply. None of them could unite against the Harvesters before. They were all fighting separate, losing battles. We've shown them that the Harvesters can be beaten. Major Sofia Rodriguez found herself training mixed species combat teams. It was challenging work. Some species could not tolerate Earth's gravity. Others had never held weapons before. Again, she ordered as a Korvax soldier tried to master a human fighting stance. Your upper arms block, your lower arms strike. Use your height advantage. The Korvax tried again, moving with more confidence this time. Better, Sofia nodded. Remember, the Harvesters expect you to run or surrender. They don't expect you to fight back. That's our advantage. On the medical deck, Dr. Okonkwo worked with alien scientists. They were amazed by human physiology. Your pain tolerance is remarkable, said a luminary doctor, watching as Natalie treated a burned Marine who barely winced during the procedure. We evolved that way, Natalie explained. On Earth, predators often detect weakness. Those who could keep moving despite injury survived. Deathworld adaptation. The luminary nodded. Fascinating and terrifying. Alan Rice spent his days with Vreen engineers, combining their cloaking technology with human shield designs. If we can make our ships both invisible and protected, he told Grace during a progress report, we'll have a significant tactical advantage. The alliance grew stronger each day. The species shared knowledge, technology, and resources. Under human military leadership, they began to plan a counteroffensive. The Harvesters have a major staging area in this system, explained a Jaxari scout, pointing to a star map. They gather resources there before moving to new targets. Grace studied the map. That would be the perfect place to strike next. Cut off their supply lines, and they can't continue their campaign. Lieutenant Derek Mason led reconnaissance missions, taking his fighters to the edge of Harvester territory. His pilots worked alongside alien navigators, learning the space lanes and asteroid fields. They're preparing something big, Derek reported after one mission. There's heavy traffic moving through these coordinates. Something important is happening there. Intelligence officer Lauren Kelly, who had been analyzing Harvester communication patterns, agreed with his assessment. They're gathering forces, she said. I think they're planning a major assault, possibly against multiple systems at once. Grace gathered her officers and the alien representatives. The room fell silent as she spoke. We have a choice to make. We can wait for them to attack again, or we can take the fight to them. I propose we strike their staging area now before they're ready. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Such aggressive action was not their way. But they had seen what humans could do. The Deathworlders will lead, Ambassador Exeltor said finally, and we will follow. The coalition began to prepare for their first major offensive. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were hunting. Intelligence officer Lauren Kelly had never imagined her career would lead her to infiltrate an alien vessel. Yet here she was, wearing a modified Vreen cloaking suit, slipping through the corridors of a captured Harvester scout ship. Movement ahead, she whispered into her comm unit. 2 Harvesters approaching. Lauren pressed herself against the wall as the tall insectoid aliens walked past. Their mandibles clicked in what seemed to be conversation. She held her breath until they turned the corner. I'm proceeding to the command center, she reported. Her mission was critical. The coalition needed to know where the harvesters would strike next. Admiral Phillips had selected her personally for this task. Knowing her background in Earth's intelligence agencies made her uniquely qualified. It took Lauren 3 tense hours to download the data she needed from the harvester systems. When she finally returned to the extraction point, her hands were shaking. "I've got it," she told Sam Harrison as he helped her aboard the cloaked shuttle. "Their next target is the Proxima colony." Back on the Defiance, Grace listened to Lauren's report with growing concern. "They're moving faster than we anticipated," Grace said. "The Proxima colony isn't ready for an attack of this scale." "Then we set a trap," suggested Commander Harrison. "We know they're coming. We can be waiting for them." The plan came together quickly. The coalition fleet would hide in the shadow of Proxima's largest moon. When the harvester ships arrived, they would spring the trap. 3 days later, the human and alien ships waited in position. Lieutenant Derek Mason sat in his fighter, ready for launch. Throughout the fleet, soldiers and crew prepared for battle. "Harvester ships detected," announced the sensor officer on the Defiance. 5 large vessels entering the system. "Hold positions," ordered Grace. "Let them commit to their attack run." The harvester ships moved toward the colony, unaware of the trap. Just as they began their attack formation, Grace gave the order. "All ships, engage." The coalition fleet burst from hiding. Fighters launched. Weapons fired. The space around Proxima erupted in battle. Derek led his squadron against the harvester fighters, cutting through their formations. The human pilots had learned from the first battle, adapting their tactics. The harvesters seemed confused by the ever-changing attack patterns. On the bridge of the Defiance, alarms suddenly blared. "Admiral, we've got a problem," Sam reported. "Commander Harrison's ship has taken heavy damage. Their engines are failing." Grace watched as the UEN Dauntless, Harrison's ship, drifted into the path of a harvester cruiser. "Can they evacuate?" she asked. "Negative. Their launch bays are damaged." Sam's voice came over the comm. "Admiral, we still have weapons. Permission to engage in close quarters." Grace knew what he was suggesting. A desperate move. "Permission granted, Commander. Make it count." The damaged human ship fired its remaining engines, driving straight toward the harvester cruiser. At the last moment, it fired all weapons at point-blank range. Then, against all odds, Sam ordered his crew to board the enemy vessel. "We're going in," Sam told his boarding teams. "Marines, prepare for close combat." What followed was something the harvesters had never experienced before. Human Marines in boarding suits cut their way into the alien ship. The fighting was brutal, hand-to-hand in narrow corridors. The harvesters experienced a new sensation: fear. These creatures from Earth fought with a ferocity they had never encountered. Where other species retreated, humans advanced. Where others surrendered, humans fought harder. Chief Medical Officer Frank Carter treated wounded aliens back on the Defiance while studying tissue samples from fallen harvesters. "Their nervous system is fascinating," he told Dr. Okonkwo. "Look at these nodes along the spine. I think they're communication relays, connecting to the hive mind." "A potential weakness?" Natali asked. "Possibly." Frank nodded. "Disrupt these, and we might break their coordination." The battle ended with a coalition victory, but at a cost. The harvesters retreated, but they destroyed the colony before leaving. And though Sam Harrison's boarding action had succeeded in capturing a harvester command ship, many lives were lost. Among the captured equipment was a harvester nexus, a living communication hub. Under careful study, it revealed something crucial: the location of the harvester central command. The harvester homeworld hung in space like a dark jewel. It was a planet of strange beauty, with purple oceans and black continents covered in massive hive structures. The coalition fleet approached cautiously, using the Vreen cloaking technology to hide their numbers. "This is it," Admiral Phillips told her assembled officers. "The heart of the enemy." The plan was risky. While the main fleet engaged the harvester defenses, A strike team would infiltrate the central hive. The team included Lieutenant Mason, Dr. Okonkwo, and Major Rodriguez, each chosen for their unique skills. The Nexus revealed a weakness in their command structure, explained Sam Harrison, still recovering from wounds received during the boarding action. If we can reach the central chamber and deploy Dr. Okonkwo's virus, we can disrupt their hive mind temporarily. How long will the disruption last? Asked Grace. About 20 minutes, Natalie replied. It's not much, but it should be enough time to reach the Queen. Engineer Rice had been working day and night on special modifications to the fleet's engines. They'll give us a burst of speed they won't expect, he explained. Enough to break through their outer defenses before they can react. The assault began at what would have been dawn on Earth. The human and alien ships dropped their cloaking and attacked with everything they had. The Harvester defenses responded immediately, but they were surprised by the coalition's speed and firepower. On the bridge of the Defiance, Grace watched the battle unfold. Continue the attack, she ordered. Draw their attention away from the southern continent. That's where our team will land. The strike team's small craft slipped through the chaos of battle. Lieutenant Mason piloted with skill, dodging enemy fire and debris. Approaching the landing zone, he reported. Heavy resistance on the ground. Major Rodriguez checked her weapons. Nothing we haven't handled before. Once we're down, stay close and move fast. The landing was rough. Harvester ground troops converged on their position immediately. The team fought their way toward the central hive, a massive structure that rose like a mountain from the planet's surface. Inside the hive, they encountered strange biological technology. The walls pulsed with life. Lights that seemed made of living tissue glowed overhead. This way, Natalie guided them, following the data from the Nexus. The central chamber should be 3 levels down. As they descended deeper, they began to feel a presence in their minds. A pressure. A voice without words. The Queen is trying to get in our heads, warned Sophia. Remember your training. Focus on my voice. The pressure grew stronger. Images flashed through their minds. Home. Earth. Loved ones in danger. It's not real, Derek said through gritted teeth. She's trying to break us with fear. Humans. A voice suddenly echoed around them. Deathworlders. Why do you fight for those weaker than yourselves? Join us instead. Together we could rule the galaxy. Not interested, Sophia called out, firing at a group of Harvester guards. They fought their way to a massive door made of some crystalline substance. Beyond it lay the central chamber. Ready the virus, Sophia told Natalie. Direct, cover us. Natalie prepared the delivery system for her virus, a biological agent designed to temporarily block the neural pathways the Harvesters use to communicate. Once I release this, we'll have 20 minutes, she reminded them. Not a second more. The door opened. Inside was a vast chamber filled with pulsing light, and at its center, suspended in a web of living tissue, was the Harvester Queen. She was enormous, her body both insect and something else, something ancient and terrible. You're too late. The Queen's voice filled their minds. My children are already spreading across the stars. You cannot stop the harvest. We'll see about that, Natalie said, and released the virus. The effect was immediate. Throughout the hive, throughout the planet, the Harvesters suddenly lost their connection to each other. The perfect coordination that made them so deadly faltered. Major Rodriguez led the charge toward the Queen. Now, while she's vulnerable, as they fought their way forward, the Queen revealed a final, terrible truth. Fools, she hissed in their minds. We are not the masters. We are merely the servants of those who came before. The Void Collective will not be denied. 6 months after the battle at the Harvester homeworld, the UEN Defiance hosted a gathering unlike any in human history. Representatives from 17 alien species crowded the newly expanded conference room. At the center of it all stood Admiral Grace Phillips, now commander of the Galactic Defense Force. The Harvester threat has been contained, she announced to the assembled delegates. Their queen is in isolation, their forces scattered without central control. For the first time in a generation, your worlds are safe. The room erupted in sounds of approval. Everything from human applause to the high-pitched singing of the Vriend to the deep rumbling hum of the Korvax. But the victory had not come without cost. Thousands of coalition forces had died in the final battle. Many more had been wounded. The Harvester homeworld itself remained under quarantine, its native population slowly recovering from the parasitic control of their own queen. Dr. Natalie Okonkwo had made a remarkable discovery in the weeks following the battle. The Harvesters weren't always conquerors, she explained to the council. They were peaceful once, before the Void Collective infected their leadership. The parasites used them as tools for expansion. And these Void Collective beings asked the Luminary Ambassador, "Where are they now?" "Beyond the Outer Rim," Sam Harrison replied. He had been promoted to Commander of Intelligence after the battle. "But they'll be back. The Queen's memories showed us that much." Lieutenant Derek Mason stood near a viewport, looking out at the stars. His fighter squadron had been crucial in the final battle, breaking through the Harvester defenses to allow the strike team's shuttle to land. Now he had a new mission. "We'll be establishing the first human colony on a shared world," he told Grace when she joined him. "A place where humans and aliens can live together, learn from each other." "A good first step," Grace nodded. "We came to space as warriors. Maybe we can stay as neighbors." Major Sofia Rodriguez was busy in the training halls of the Defiance. What had started as emergency combat instruction had grown into something more formal, the Galactic Defense Academy. Species that had never fought before now trained alongside veteran human Marines. Again, she ordered a mixed group of trainees. "The Void Collective will exploit any weakness. We need to be ready." Engineer Alan Reyes had not been idle either. Working with a team of alien scientists, he had begun designing a new class of ships. "These will combine the best of all our technologies," he explained to Grace, showing her the plans. Vriend cloaking, Korvax navigation, human weapons systems, luminary sensors, true coalition vessels. In the medical bay, Dr. Okonkwo continued her research on the Harvester survivors. Many had awakened from the Queen's control, confused and horrified by what they had been forced to do. "They can be rehabilitated," she insisted to the council. They were victims too. As night fell on the ship, the delegates returned to their quarters. Grace made her final rounds, ending at the bridge where Sam waited with news. "The council has voted," he told her. "Earth will leave the Galactic Defense Force permanently. They trust us. Because we fought for them," Grace said. "No," Sam shook his head. "Because after we fought for them, we helped them heal." That's something the Void Collective would never understand. A junior officer approached with a message. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from beyond the Outer Rim." Grace and Sam exchanged glances. "Put it through." The message was fragmented, distorted. A plea for help from an unknown species, under attack from something they could not describe. Something that moved between the stars like a shadow. Grace straightened her uniform. "Alert all ships. Send word to Earth. It seems our work is not done." Around her, the crew sprang into action without hesitation. Across the fleet, humans and their alien allies prepared once more for battle. The Deathworlders had found their purpose among the stars. Not just as warriors, but as protectors.